let's define what hip hop culture is. How would you define it? What's your definition of hip hop culture?
What it is now,
right?
And it has a real commercial kind of a definition now,
right?
And you know, you have people who created like the 5 elements and all these different kinds of things, and that's what it's become.
Right.
What it was for me always was the music and the dancers, and eventually later on the rappers. And that's what it always has been for me, and that's what I still continue to define it as. And I understand that others have added the graffiti artist and all that kind of thing. That's great if you want to add that, but for me, the graffiti artists were in existence even before hip-hop culture. I knew a lot of cats who were graffiti artists, white guys who were graffiti artists, who wouldn't have anything to do with us as black people, let alone hip-hop. So, you know, I appreciate that it was incorporated in, that's wonderful, but I've always defined hip-hop, or what has come to be known as hip-hop, as the music, the style of dance, and the style of emceeing or rapping. That's what it's always been.
Okay, so where would you, on the hip-hop timeline, how would you start it off? The history of hip-hop, where would it start from?
Well, you can't have the history of hip-hop with first of all talking about the gang culture, the Black Spades. One of the things I told you when we were talking on the phone, and we talked about the light bulb, the analogy of the light bulb. Thomas Edison created the light bulb.
Right.
But he couldn't have done that without Ben Franklin discovering electricity 100 years or whatever previously.
Right.
So while the genesis of hip-hop, and I know people aren't going to like it, is Cool Herc, and the people can say whatever they want, he would not have been possible without the electricity that was created by the culture that was existing in the 1970s, early part of the 70s, and that very specifically is gang culture, and more specifically starting with the Black Spades.
Right. Okay, the Spades. Now, I just had, you know what I'm saying, a Spade telling me they was doing a Spade dance, and he felt like that's where breakdancing kind of came from.
Yeah. And so the Spade dance is one of the areas where it started. Then you have people who used to do what's known as burning. Okay? Burning. Yeah, which is the precursor to breakdancing.
Okay.
Now you got to remember, all art forms take from various other art forms.
Right.
And you know, and so burning was like a thing which would be maybe the precursor to uprising. And so somebody's dancing, and you know you're doing your thing, and you might turn and embarrass somebody, like you know you take your square, you screw their head off and pretend you're kicking it down the hall, or something like that. Or you know you put your hand in somebody's face and drop back, you know, and that's burning, and that was breaking in its own way. And then as it evolved, then you had the locker dancers who are out in California, and they're doing the pop locking and Don Locker and all that.
But that wasn't in the Bronx, though, right?
Not at all. That's the West Coast thing. Like if you look at early episodes of Soul Train, all right, and Soul Train started in Chicago, but when they moved to LA and they had to dance like Rerun and all of them, they were out of California. That was the West Coast kind of thing, and they were doing the popping and everything. So even the elements of breakdancing incorporated some of that. But the breakdancing, as you know it today, right? When cats were going to the floor, that's when you had the original B-boys, such as the twins, the nigga twins, Kevin and Ken. Clark Kent. I can't remember Clark Kent's real name. But Clark Kent was Clark Kent because he looked like Clark Kent. He used to wear horn rim glasses. Yeah, he used to wear horn rim glasses. Bad boy on the dance floor. James Bond used to do things, he'd be spinning, then he'd run around and take off his shoe like he was down on a phone call, like Get Smart. Things like that, cute little things. So you were doing, all those different elements were breakdancing. But you know, when you saw the cats spin on the floor, that's the twins, Clark Kent, then myself, you know, the Zulu Kings, the original Zulu Kings, like Five, Scorpion Med, Aziz, you know, Zambu, Kusa.
So you saying Clark Kent, they came before Zulu King?
We're all around the same time.
All around the same time.
All right, but the first people I saw really doing it, getting down like that with spins, were the twins and Clark Kent.
And what was they doing exactly?
Well, I can't do it for you because I'm too old. Nowadays. But they were the cats who would be like up rocking and, you know, things like that. And then, you know, they'd drop down and they'd start spinning, and I can't do all of that for you. If I wish I could, I'm a little old. But they were spinning around and might do a freeze and poses and all those different kinds of things. But they're the ones who first started dropping to the floor. Before that, pretty much breaking or burning, like I told you, was more, you know, it was upright. It wasn't nobody on the floor.
Is there a relationship between burning and spade dance?
I would say I would say I would say they were
spade dance was first though, right? Because they told me they were doing that
I would
in
say
the 60s, the beginning of the spades.
Late 60s, early 70s, I would definitely say that that's the case. You know? So, and you know what I mean? It's like, people need to understand, one won't exist without the other. You know what I mean? Something had to come first. And you know, when a baby's born, the baby don't look nothing like what it looks like when it's grown.
Right.
But that don't change the fact that that's who it was when it was a baby.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So all those elements went into breakdancing, and those are the foundations of hip hop and the music, and that's Cool Herc.
Cool Herc.
You know, that's Cool Herc.
Okay, right.
That part.
I think me and you basically agree. I think we just use maybe different words. You say, as far as Benjamin Franklin and the light bulb, electricity.
Yeah, the analogy.
So you saying
Herc and hip hop would not be possible without the culture that existed in gang culture, specifically the Black Spades.
Right.
So they laid that groundwork, that energy. You know what I mean? That energy.
You was talking about, the B-boys, y'all went to the west side, and you saying the first dudes was just up rocking at first.
Yeah, originally burning. And then you started getting cats on the floor, like the twins and everything. They were spinning, they were doing all that.
Right.
And, we like that, and we doing it too,
Do you know who you said the first people to get on the floor?
They were the earliest ones I seen. To really do the spinning. Yeah, they were the earliest ones. They were the earliest.
And what's the names?
The twins. They used to call them the nigga twins. And I don't like that name, but that's what they call them. That was what they were called. Kevin and Kenny, And their little brothers, and they used to hang out with us, the Zulus and everything. And Clark Kent. They were from the 9. That's where they originally were from.
Webster.
Yeah, Webster and, Tunnel 69th, Webster,
Washington.
Washington Avenue.
Right.
Washington
all that
Avenue,
over there.
That's where they were. That's the area.
Morris and Butler and all that over
Butler
there.
houses and all that kind of stuff. So that's the area that they were from. That's what I'm saying. So you have all these other people. Some of the people you got talking weren't there.
Right.
They weren't there. You came in the fucking 80s. We had already stopped by that time.
So so you would say the culture started with the Black Spades.
Yeah, the spark for the culture started with the Black Spades. It comes out of gang culture. Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody can argue that.
Right.
They cannot. Even the Latino gangs, and now the Latino gangs, here's what I would them. And this means they rock steady and everything.
Right.
When we had stopped b-boying, they continued.
You saying like 81 maybe? 82?
80, 79, 80.
What was y'all dancing? And y'all gave up dancing altogether? What was y'all doing?
No, we were doing the freak dance.
The freak?
Yeah, the freak was a crazy damn dance. We were doing the freak dance even in the 70s.
Okay.
The freak dance, it was almost like simulated sex. On the dance floor, yeah, the freak dance was crazy. It was crazy. It was like, you get a girl, and basically you start humping and grinding on her to the beat of music. And that was what the freak dance was.
So that's what y'all was doing after y'all stopped?
Yeah,
break dance.
Yeah. The freak dance kind of interlapped all of that. Because, dudes like chicks.
Right.
I mean, if you got a choice between spinning on the ground and getting your shit off with a chick, which one you gonna do? So, the freak dance, and then things like dance like the Pat.2. Things like that. Pat.2 was a joint like this, and
right.
With you moving your shoulders and all this.
I thought that was in the 80s, Pat.2?
70s.
Right, yeah. Right, okay.
You see what I mean? So we were doing more dances that people were doing in regular clubs. We weren't b-boying.
When Sugar Hill Gang came out, you were still breakdancing at that time?
No.
Stopped?
No, we pretty much stopped by then. But the Latino kids was.
The Rocksteady crew.
Well, they came like 80, 81, But the Latino cats, they kept it up. That's when they're doing that up rock and going down. You see them old pictures of them. They're doing. I can't even do the shit that they do. They was doing something and bending down and and all this craziness they were doing. But they kept that spark of b-boying and breakdancing alive when we had kind of just outgrown it. And like I said, who knows? We didn't know it was going to be a worldwide phenomenon. Right. Probably if it was, we would have been the ones in the videos doing all that stuff. But, sometimes it's just about being in the right place at the right time. It ain't got nothing to do with anything else. And for Rocksteady, they didn't invent nothing. They were just in the right place at the right time, and they picked up where we left off. And that's as simple as that. That ain't knocking them. That ain't anything. That's just the fact, and that's just the history. And it's cool, but you can't speak on shit that you don't know about.
Right.
Because somebody told you. Right. We talking about cats who was here. When I talk about it, I don't have nothing to gain out of it, man. I have a master's degree. I teach. That's my world. I ain't trying to get a record deal. I don't give a shit about none of that. What I know is what the history is and give people they do.
Right.
Give people they do and tell the history honestly.
Yeah. Okay, let's come to conclusion.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it all up. So we say hip-hop started with the gang culture. Hip-hop culture started with the gang culture.
Absolutely.
Spades with the spade dance.
Yeah.
Which led to burning.
Which led to burning and breaking and then
burning and then breaking. And each borrowed from one another.
Which then eventually came, which so with the b-boys.
So the spade dancing, was it like, from what I understand, was a little turning with it?
Well, there's turning and stomping. A lot of turning, a lot of stomping, a lot of turning. What would now be probably up rocking, but there's a lot of spinning.
Like, step down, show a little
I
like.
too much pain to do all the stomping, something to that effect.
Right.
And it gets more elaborate, but I can't do all of that because I'm in too much pain to do all that.
Right.
But it gets a lot more elaborate than that.
Right.
The main part of the spade is the stomping part because you got the MCs that makes a loud noise when you boom, and you know it's intimidating, and that's a part of the process. You know, so. And like I said, it's like anything else. You start with one thing, you add something else, and it might not even be recognizable by the time you finish it. But the point is, it started with that.